you, I have had more people say, please run again.
Is the Long Live the King post from the White House flirt with the idea that he's not joking, he wants a third term in violation of the United States Constitution?
It will not happen. It's a silly debate. Trump is just having fun with all of us. Absolutely, he's having fun.
You know, can you guys give us a Donald Trump fun dictionary so that we know when he's having fun and then we also know when he's serious? You guys break it down and let us know when we should freak the hell out. The hate speech on Twitter.
When can I jump in here? The hypocrisy's killing me.
Wait. He didn't throw up a Nazi salute, and you know he did, right?
I know he did.
Nazi salute.
Watched it.
How many videos do you need to see of politicians on the left making the exact same hand gesture, and yet nobody's alarmed? The hypocrisy is bananas here.
The problem with US elections is that they never seem to end. A newly minted president waits months to be sworn in and appoint his cabinet, while a never-ending inquest into the losing side's failures rumbles on for the best part of a year. And barely 12 months into the presidency, our focus turns to the midterms, where the victorious president usually loses seats in Congress and faces an uphill battle to get anything much done before the whole cycle repeats itself all over again. Well, critics of President Trump's rule by wave after wave of executive order say it's an attack on hallowed constitutional norms. But it may be that those norms are simply a terrible way of doing business. And never mind relitigating the 2024 election, many in the media are currently obsessing over the 2028 election and whether President Trump may find a way to stay in power for a little longer.
Do you think that's an appropriate precedent to set, even if it wasn't you in this position, to see a president serve a third term?
I don't want to talk about a third term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go. We have a long time. You know, we have almost 4 years to go. And that's a long time. But despite that, so many people are saying, you've got to run again. They love the job we're doing. Most importantly, they love the job we're doing.
Note that he does say that many people want him to run again, as opposed to many people wanting him to build a moat around the White House and send tanks down the aisle. But his main point is the right one. There's plenty to be getting on with right here in 2025. The president's about to unleash a new wave of tariffs in what is either Liberation Day or Black Wednesday, depending on which colour hat you're wearing. He's negotiating hard with Zelensky and Putin, both of whom got a presidential tongue-lashing this weekend over an end to the war in Ukraine. Doge is blitzing the federal government as apparently paid-for protesters attack Teslas in a ridiculous show of support for waste, fraud and abuse. All of this should be of much greater interest to everyone than who is running in 2028. And if Democrats do want to focus on the next campaign, their main concern should be that Jasmine Crockett is emerging as one of the front runners. Last week she mocked Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who uses a wheelchair.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey.
Now, joyless Jasmine is facing a backlash for an appearance on The Breakfast Club last month in which she criticised Republican Byron Donalds for marrying a white woman.
We continue to put people into office, and that even means some of our skinfolk who definitely are not our kinfolk, such as Byron Donalds, who are going to continue to say that, like, I mean, the fact that you sitting around talking about life was better under Jim Crow, like, is this because you don't understand history? Or literally it's because you married a white woman and so you think that that whitewashed you? I'm not really sure, like, what it is.
Well,
but
you
I
couldn't
need
even be married to a white woman under Jim
Correct.
Crow.
Correct. And it took Joy to call him out.
Well, there's a word for that. It's called racism, and it's certainly not the position any Democrat took on Kamala Harris, who has a Jewish husband and 2 white stepchildren, none of whom had anything at all to do with her disastrous campaign for president. I don't think Trump will run for a third term, although we should waste a lot of time arguing about it. But if you did poll Americans on whether they prefer Trump 2028 to Crockett 2028, I think I know who'd win. To debate all of this and more, I'm joined by the host of Keeping It Real podcast, Jillian Michaels, Van Lathan, the co-host of the Ringer's Higher Learning podcast, Ari Fleischer, the former White House press secretary under George W. Bush, and Jesse Dollemore, host of Dollemore Daily and the I Doubt It podcast. Well, welcome to all of you. Ari Fleischer, let me just start with you, if I may. From a purely technical point of view, is there any reason that the Constitution cannot be further amended to potentially facilitate a president who wishes to serve more than 2 terms?
Piers, I refuse to answer that question. And I refuse to answer it because this entire debate is dumb. Donald Trump has a way of making his critics take the bait. Don't take this bait. Donald Trump, no matter how his second term goes, and I hope it goes well, is going to leave the political scene, leave the presidency in 2029, on January 20th, 2029. He will not run for re-election. He cannot run per the Constitution for re-election. There are other mechanisms. You could have the vice president become president, and then he could appoint Donald Trump his vice president, and then he could step down and Donald Trump could assume the presidency. That would be within the Constitution, but it's foolish. It won't happen. This is Trump trolling everybody, and just don't fall for it. Trump does these funny things. Just go on to the normal things we should talk about, tariffs and all the other controversies. This is not one that even is worth spending time on. He's having fun.
Well, we're going to get to the other stuff, which I agree is probably more important, as I said in the monologue. But again, look, I'm a Brit. In Britain, I see lots of people, raging away about this, but seemingly forgetting that in the UK, there is no term limit for prime ministers. You can literally serve for the whole of your natural life if you manage to persuade your party and the country that you're popular enough. So, Margaret Thatcher has served 4 terms, Tony Blair did 3 terms, and so on. There is no term limit. Obviously, in the US, I think my understanding is there's not always been a 2-term limit. So when did that actually come in, Ari?
Right after Franklin Delano Roosevelt. That was a change, and the Constitution was amended. You could serve more than 2 terms from 1789, when our Constitution was created, right up till after World War II. FDR served 4 terms. The Constitution was amended. You can only be elected 2 terms. That's what the Constitution currently states, and that's why this is a non-issue. And I can understand people are taking the bait. My advice to people is enjoy your day, go on, don't worry about this. It will not happen. And I say that to the people who absolutely love Donald Trump. It will not happen.
All right, Van Lathan, are you reassured that it will not happen? Or when the President of the United States says he's thinking about it, do you take him seriously?
Yeah, so normally I probably wouldn't, because you think about, I take him seriously. I mean, you think about all the things that would have to happen. You think about, the constitutional amendment and all of that. And you think, oh, this is just bluster. This is just Trump spinning a yarn. The only thing is that he didn't want to leave the first time. So he was voted out of office in a free and fair election and spent a whole conspiracy to create fake electors, and had a bunch of people on at the Capitol, which ended up in a very embarrassing and dangerous situation for the American government. And he essentially created an entire political movement around a lie, trying to subvert an election. So I'm not understanding why, when I've seen him mobilize in that way, that I should just think that he's messing around now. I think that if Donald Trump has it in his grasp or his sphere of power to stay on for a 3rd term, that he would definitely do it. He would definitely do it. And the reason why I know that he would definitely do it is because there would be absolutely zero resistance from the rank and file on his side to stop him. They would subvert the Constitution or anything else if it meant that appeased the daddy.
Okay, Jillian Michaels, I mean, again, it's an amendment to the Constitution that was made in the last 80 years. There's no logical reason why Trump couldn't move potentially to have it further amended. So he could technically try and do that. The question is whether he'd be successful.
Listen, I am of the ilk that we should pay attention to the things he actually does as opposed to the things that he says. Because if we were chasing down all of the bluster and all of the craziness, which I think is part of his negotiating strategies to throw the other side off balance, so on and so forth, it would be chaos. We've got 4 years to wait and deal with this problem should it arise. And there are a host of other significantly pressing issues I think we should be focused on.
Piers Morgan Uncensored is now proudly independent. If you like the show, we ask for only one thing. Subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now let's get straight to the point. Support for today's show comes from a business focused on a critical issue: prosperity. US national debt is at crisis levels, inflation has made life more expensive for everybody, and the stock market is precarious. It's enough to make anyone's financial future feel grim. So what is the solution? Well, a simple one is to opt out of the chaos and invest in something solid and reliable: physical gold and silver. And there's only one name you need to remember: American Hartford Gold. This company has earned the trust of thousands of customers with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and glowing reviews you can see for yourself. They offer an incredible range of gold and silver bars and coins that can be delivered directly to your door, or they'll help you set them up in a tax-advantaged gold IRA. First-class customer service makes the whole process simple, secure, and straightforward. American Hartford Gold is committed to getting the truth out there and giving you peace of mind in uncertain times. And if that wasn't enough, you'll get up to $15,000 worth of free silver when you make your first purchase and mention my name, Piers. So make the smart move. Call 866-692-2474 or text Piers, that's P-I-E-R-S, to 65532. That's 866-692-2474 or text Piers to 65532. All the details are in the description. Now on with the show. Would you say problem? A lot of people who love Trump might not see it as a problem at all. They might think, yeah, great, if he's doing great guns by then, if he delivers on all his promises, why not? I mean, again, I understand how the Constitution is right now to prevent it, but as Ari explained very diligently there, this has only been since the end of World War II. It's not like it's been there from the start.
So are the new amendments to the Constitution less important than the older ones, Piers?
Sorry, Jesse?
I said, are the newer amendments to our Constitution less important than the older ones?
No, but I guess I would say, as a Brit who's not an American, so let me obviously make that clear. My accent probably gives you a clue. But I've never understood why there should be such a sacrosanct reliance on the current Constitution, given that so many of the things in it are amendments. So if they've already been amended, why couldn't they be amended again? I mean, treat me like a village idiot, Jesse. Well, hang on, let Jesse answer. But treat me like a British village idiot. If something's already been amended once, actually, why can't it be amended again?
Well, it can be. It's a Herculean endeavor to try to get that through. But I would challenge your assertion at the very beginning when you said it's a terrible way of doing business to adhere to some loyalty to the Constitution. It's the basis and foundation for the rule of law in this country, and to ignore it is at folly of the people who will do so. Republicans love to hold up their constitutions that they pull out of their pockets that are nothing but a prop and act as though they have respect for this document. When I served in the United States Marine Corps for the years that I did, I raised my right hand and swore an oath to defend and support this document against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that includes Donald Trump. We should have a vital respect and adherence to the rule of law in this country, and it's based on the Constitution.
Okay.
And let me
all right, let's move on to.
If you were to amend the Constitution, if you were to amend the Constitution, it takes 2/3 of the House, 2/3 of the Senate, and 3/5 of the states. The only way you could amend the Constitution to put Trump back in there is if the Democrats want to do it. That's why it will not happen. It's a silly debate. Trump is just having fun with all of us, and it's just not there.
Do you assert, Ari, that Donald Trump is lying when he says, I'm not joking, this is what I want? He's a liar?
Oh, he's having fun. Absolutely, he's having fun. I think he has no intention of serving a third term. Let him have a successful second term. I'm more worried about that.
Well, he nearly had a successful insurrection, so.
Yeah, can you guys do us a favor? Can you guys give us a Donald Trump fun dictionary so that we know when he's having fun and then we also know when he's serious? Because when the president speaks, normally we take it seriously, but you guys seem to have this ESP with Donald Trump, this psychic connection to where you know when he's joking and then you know when he's being serious. So tariffs, Greenland, I need you guys to break it down. You guys could be in charge of it. You guys break it down and let us know when we should freak the hell out, because that seems like something that a dictator will want to do. And we don't know when he's joking. He's the president. So when he says something, we take it as him meaning it.
Okay, Ari, it's actually a reasonable point.
Donald Trump is joking.
Yeah, it's a reasonable point, Ari, isn't it? Is that Donald Trump is not like any other president. He often does say stuff which he just shoots from the hip or says things to wind up the libs or whatever it may be. It's not an unreasonable point Van is making, that it ought to be probably easier to try and process what the President of the United States actually means in any given moment.
Look, Trump was elected because he's not a politician, because he's not predictable. And I do feel sorry for his critics. I feel sorry for people who go through every day saying, oh my gosh, Trump did this, Trump sneezed that, Trump coughed this. And they die, and they take it seriously. And you're right, maybe people like me have a decoder ring, and so we know when he's saying these things that you just roll your eyes and move on to the next one. I do that when he says
Is the long live the king also part of your decoder ring,
it won't be a
Ari
51st
Fleischer?
state. I'm sorry?
Well, I think this is obvious. We should be paying attention
is
to
the
the
long
things that
live
he
the king
does.
post from the White House? Would this have been something that would have flown in the George W. Bush White House to declare himself a king and also flirt with the idea that he's not joking, he wants a third term in violation of the United States Constitution?
No, this would never happen before. But Donald Trump got elected. The American people knew what they were doing when they put him there. They want somebody who's going to shake things up. Part of his shakeup is to say these things. And I'm happy to have that decoder ring. That's why I was saying Canada's not going to become a 51st state. We're not going to invade Greenland, and he won't serve a third term. It's so obvious.
So he's an unserious, unbelievable person.
So he's not
keep moving.
All right, Jillian, you wanted to jump in?
I would simply say you can decode it by the actions that he takes as opposed to the things that he says. If he makes legal moves to put himself in for a third term, then we can all be alarmed. I would be alarmed. If he actually invades Greenland, we can all be extremely alarmed. But as far as I can tell, having now lived through his first term, read his book, The Art of the Deal, and watching his first 100 days, I think there's 70-something days that have passed so far, it's the same negotiating tactics that he's employed strategically throughout his professional career and his political career. So that's your decoder ring. When he takes action to do these things outside of just the words that come out of his mouth, then we can all be alarmed about a third term.
Okay, Ari, let me ask you
about Jillian Michaels.
Hang on, don't talk at once. Wait, don't talk at once. I want to ask Ari. I want to ask Ari a question, which is about tariffs. So on the tariffs, Trump seems to be escalating this tariff war now in a pretty radical way we've never seen before. It's no longer just reciprocal he's talking about. He's talking about, 25% tariff on all imported cars, but also potentially a sort of global tariff on pretty much everything. Translate this for me. What is Trump's real aim here with this tariff war, do you think?
His real aim is to bring manufacturing back to the United States of America. And it's a huge roll of the dice. Every economic theory says this will be unsuccessful. It will result in an expensive trade war in which no one will win. Trump believes that the United States will win because we will start to buy products made by Americans. There'll be more blue-collar factory jobs for Americans. And that is what he wants to return to. So he doesn't care if a customer is going to buy a Range Rover and the price of the Range Rover is now 25% higher. He hopes that will happen. That way the customer buys a Cadillac made in Michigan. That's his gamble. That's his roll of the dice. It's a huge risk, but that's what he thinks, and I think it's genuine. He wants to return manufacturing to America.
Okay, Van,
and he's such
essentially what is... Well, hang on, Jesse, I'll come to you after Van. Van, intrinsically, what is wrong with that ideology? I mean, if Trump recognizes that American manufacturing has been disappearing rapidly, a lot of jobs, factories, outsourcing out to other countries. Actually, is he wrong? Yeah. I mean, let's put aside the way he's going about this, which many think is too radical and can't work. But is he wrong in trying to bring manufacturing back in a big way to the United States?
All right, two things. One, I want to respond to Jillian real quick. So you're right when Trump does something. But remember, we saw Trump try to overturn an election, use nefarious and illegal means to try to overturn an election, right? So we've seen him take action to subvert constitutional law and American norms. We've seen him do that. That's the first thing. So when he's not just,
he wasn't successful though.
He wasn't successful because
should
the
it happen
system
again?
held, but not because he didn't try.
Should it happen again though?
Okay, see, the system held, not because he didn't try.
Should he try again?
So secondly, this is what I would say about the tariffs. Number one is we would all like to see domestic manufacturing come back to the United States. We would all like to see Americans have wage growth and stable jobs. The point that I'm making is, or that a lot of people are making is this doesn't work. When Trump instituted his tariffs in his first term and he, tried to raise prices on foreign goods, do you know what happened? Domestic goods actually went up as well. And the reason why they went up as well was because those domestic manufacturers saw demand. They saw the fact that they were now in demand, and they rose prices to meet the prices of foreign goods that were also more expensive. Of course, it matters the way that you do something, because the way that you do something denotes whether or not that something works or not. Jillian was a fitness expert. I like to run. I also like to eat brownies in excess every night around 7 p.m. It's not going to work that way, right, Jillian? I'm going to break even. So you have to do something in the way that will allow it to be successful. And this tariff thing is not going to work. And that's not a red hat or a blue hat saying that. That's economists who are studying it and looking at it independently.
Okay, Jesse.
Well, not to mention the fact that even if we were to accept the premise of what Donald Trump is attempting to do here and what his motivations are, it is a long-tailed endeavor to stand up a manufacturing facility, to alter the nature of our economy and how diversified it is. It's not something with this magical thinking that conservative has, that all of a sudden you've got an auto manufacturing plant or name another industry. It takes a long time to get that done. And by punishing these the American people with the tariffs and the price increases that are sure to come and have already started, you're not ending your goal. All you're doing is creating chaos, which seems to be the order of the day.
Okay, Jillian, the problem, it seems to me, is that Trump's got to be very careful here, that the economy doesn't get sent into a kind of death spiral in the short to middle term while he tries to achieve the longer term goal, which I think is quite an admirable goal, actually. But it's the fact that in the meantime, if the stock market keeps crashing, if the economy starts to tank, if inflation starts to soar again, he just may not have time to do this in the way that he wants. The midterms could end up being a real shellacking for the Republicans if the American people feel they've been let down and are not buying into the long term here. So as Ari said, it's a big throw of the dice.
Without question, it's going to be a fine needle to thread, obviously, and I'm certainly not an economist, but I've interviewed different experts on the subject matter, and here's what I've taken away thus far. And my first question, and correct me if I'm getting this wrong, is didn't Biden keep Trump's tariffs? Because I'm under the impression he did. So please tell me if I've misunderstood that. Now, table. Okay, so correct. So he kept them. All right, moving on. Now, if we look at many of the ways that he's utilizing these tariffs, it seems to me that it's been, in large part, there's an asymmetry without question, and we could go through the asymmetry with Canada, the EU, China, South America, each and every one. And he's obviously utilizing this as a leveraging tool. So whether it's getting Venezuela and Colombia to take their criminals back, or it's getting neutrality back at the Panama Canal, or whether it's getting different countries around the world to invest here in America. And again, now, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I was just told recently by an expert that there has been $400 trillion now in investments here from other countries like Saudi Arabia, the EU, even Canada, looking at bringing the chips from Taiwan over here, Hyundai investing more money in manufacturing over here. So I'm not saying it's going to work. I don't know yet, obviously. It all remains to be seen. But I think the intentions are pretty good. We've tried to get a grip on these imbalances for decades now, and no one's done it successfully. So yes, I feel like I'm on a roller coaster and I'm holding on, but I'm hopeful that it's going to work out based on, honestly, the things I've seen thus far.
Okay, Ari, I know we've only got a few minutes. Well, hang on, Jesse, because we've only got a few minutes left with Ari before he has to leave us, sadly. Ari, just to pivot to what's happening on the foreign stage before you have to go. In terms of Ukraine and Russia, some tension creeping in now with Trump making some jungle drum noises about potentially punishing Russia with tariffs. He said he could fix this Ukraine war in a day. That clearly was never going to be possible and has proven not to be possible. But where do you think we are going with this deal that he's trying to navigate through?
Well, the expression is it takes two to tango. And I think you could add it takes two to untango. And if we're going to be successful in creating peace between Ukraine and Russia, we need to put leverage on both countries, not just Ukraine. So I thought it was welcome to hear the president's tougher tone now against Vladimir Putin. And you have to be very careful with Vladimir Putin. He lies. He lies regularly. He invades his neighbors. And no matter what you think about how long this war can go on, or whether America or Europe should be giving aid to Ukraine, for how long will we give aid to Ukraine? If you only put pressure on one party, you're going to encourage the other party to become more aggressive. So I like to hear this new language by President Trump about President Putin. I hope we can achieve peace there. This doesn't have to be a forever war. But this is welcome, in my opinion, Piers. This is a reflection of the real world and the real Vladimir Putin.
Is he joking, finally, or is he being serious?
Hang on, Jesse, I will get you to respond to that, but I just want to, while I've still got Ari for a minute, just on Doge and the backlash against Elon Musk and the attacks on Tesla factories, petrol bombing Tesla cars, attacking people who are driving Teslas. What does that say about the Democrats, the liberals, if you like, who for many years had Elon Musk as their hero, the guy that brought green energy into the world and through the cars?
And not to mention all the arson attacks at Tesla dealers throughout the United States. It's horrific. There is a violent left in the United States of America. And it really began in 2016 when Donald Trump was running. And people at Trump rallies would get attacked. When they had the convention at the White House in 2020, as people left the White House after the Republican convention, they were attacked on the streets of Washington, D.C. There is a terrible violence inside the left. And you're seeing it now in the Tesla dealerships. I mean, I'm so glad we have a different new FBI that takes us seriously. They arrested already one of these people in Las Vegas who committed these attacks. And it's not how Americans should settle. It's not how any democracy should settle its differences. The differences should be settled peacefully and at the polls. But this anti-Trump reaction, anti-Musk reaction, it is terrifying for anybody who really believes in democracy. There is a threat to democracy in the United States. It largely comes from the left, not from Donald Trump or Donald Trump supporters.
Wow.
Ari,
before you go, I just want to say something.
Go quickly, Van.
Before you go, I want to say something real quick. I hope that all of the people that are vandalizing Tesla dealerships everywhere, because I drive a Tesla. I bought it in 2018. Cool car. I'm ashamed now, but I drive one. I hope that all of these people are rounded up and caught so that a Democratic president can pardon them.
Touche. That's a good argument. Well said.
I know it is. Yeah, it's pretty ironclad. Thank you.
Ari, I've got to let you go. Thank you very much indeed for coming on Uncensored. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Drive safely.
All right, Jesse, I mean, look, we'll come to Ukraine in a moment, but on what's happening with Tesla, I just find it so ironic that here you have a huge number of people where Elon Musk was the hero, but because politically he slightly changed colours, they are now using violence and really
he slightly
awful
changed
violence.
colours. He's thrown up Nazi salutes. He didn't slightly change colours.
He didn't throw up a Nazi salute, and you know he didn't, right?
I know he did.
Nazi salute.
He watched it. I'm not a Nazi apologist. You do you.
It was not a Nazi salute. Why would he throw a Nazi salute?
Because he's a white supremacist.
He's not a white supremacist.
Why would he campaign for the AfD in Germany? Why would he do that? Why would he continue to talk about the great replacement theory and birth rates among white people being too low in a
But he's right. He's right
manner?
about birth rates. He's right about birth rates.
Yeah, like I said, that's you do you. It's not me.
Well, it's not about doing me. He's right about global birth rates are plummeting, and that is extremely
it's not an
dangerous for
existential
the future of the
crisis.
world. It is. It actually could be. Yeah, it is. I mean, if you look at some countries around the world now, it is becoming a genuine crisis. I don't know why you would dismiss that.
Because I don't think it's an existential crisis. It's cyclical. Population rises and falls, and in the 70s, it was like, oh, it's an explosion of too many people. We're not going to be able to feed the world's population. And thankfully, to people like Norman Borlaug, who through genetically modified organisms, we're able to feed the people who are here. But it's not an existential threat. That there are certain countries do face a far greater problem, South Korea, Japan, but the United States is not one of those countries. This is born out of racism, that the birth rates are not falling in Africa, and it's the, oh my God, black people will be the dominant force on the planet. That's what this is born out of, and that is what motivates Elon Musk, the guy who for sure didn't throw up a Nazi salute.
Well, he didn't. He went from my heart to yours, as everybody knows, and it was a completely trumped up
As everybody
bullshit
knows.
to claim it was a Nazi salute. But all right, Van, you've been gesticulating wildly. You were laughing as Ari was talking about the petrol bombing of Tesla dealerships and so on. Why is that funny? Why would you not want to roundly condemn any act of violence, whether it's against cars, factories, dealerships, whether it's targeting people driving Teslas? Why would any of that make you feel like you're amused?
So here's the thing, Piers. I watch your show all the time. I enjoy it greatly. You are good at the condemning game. You're really good. You're so good. You're good at the getting people on and go condemn this, and it kind of takes the sting out of what we're actually talking about. So I'm going to try not to do that. I'm not going to give you a condemn. Okay?
Really? You're not going to condemn what's happening to Tesla?
No condemn. No condemn.
Wow.
Okay.
Why?
I can tell you right now that I am not going to be involved in anything that has to do with anything violent, but I'm not playing your condemning game. This is what I will say.
Why not? Why wouldn't you condemn it?
About the actual point, because it's a trick bag, and I'm not doing that.
What's the trick?
So it's a trick bag. Pearson, you know it. You know it's a trick bag. Pearson.
What's the trick? What's the trick?
The trick is this. So the trick is this. So the trick is getting me to moralize with an immoral side.
With a
right?
crime. With a crime, yeah. With a crime.
Right. It's
I'm asking you to condemn a crime, literally.
Right. So what you're doing is you want me to get on a moral high horse, right?
I want you to condemn criminal behavior, yeah.
Despite the fact that we could have all kinds of conversations about how Trump has broke the law, about how Trump supporters have engaged in violence, all of that stuff, but that kind of gets glossed over while I'm trying to convince people how morally righteous and upstanding I am. Okay, I know who I am. No condemn. This is what I'll say. The main point of this, which is Elon Musk, right? The Elon Musk of this entire thing. Elon Musk did not just become public enemy number one for people after he decided to support Donald Trump. Elon Musk took over Twitter and brought hate speech back to Twitter. That's a fact. Okay? He brought hate speech back to Twitter.
What do you mean he brought hate speech back? What do you mean he brought hate speech back?
Meaning that on Twitter, a lot of words, terms, phrases would get you banned and muted and kicked off the platform.
And
when
they still
Elon
do.
Musk came back to Twitter.
They still do.
No, they really, they don't. The hate
they still do.
The hate speech on Twitter
When can I
has
jump
gone
in here?
through the roof since
The
Elon Musk.
hypocrisy's killing me.
Wait.
The hypocrisy is bananas here.
Give me the hypocrisy.
When do I get to just go? Okay, let's look at it for a second. How many videos do you need to see of politicians on the left making the exact same hand gesture, and yet nobody's alarmed? We've seen it over and over and over again from politicians like AOC being a perfect example. However, you're upset about Elon Musk being an anti-Semite who happens to be friends with Jews, hire Jews, has never killed a Jew, and yet you're not upset about the swastikas being scratched into his car. How about the fact that the left, and we all know the reason that Kamala Harris didn't actually choose Josh Shapiro as her VP, although he would have probably been the best choice. Could it be because he's Jewish? I don't know. Let's speculate at it.
You think it was because he was Jewish?
Or how about the fact... I do think
it's a hell of a high watermark that he hasn't killed a Jew.
Yes, I do.
Hasn't killed a Jew, therefore.
What about the sick hail from all of your politicians? Not only has he not killed a Jew,
Democrat.
He's hired Jews. He's friends with Jews. Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka has converted to Judaism, and they're very close friends. I would imagine
is married to a Jewish guy.
You're full of crap.
Wait,
how about this one? Why are you not upset about Mahmoud Khalil? Where's your outrage about this guy who's part of an organization that celebrates the October 7th attacks?
You want to breathe. So you're saying that Kamala Harris is an anti-Semite because she didn't choose a Jewish running mate. She's married to a Jewish guy.
That the Democratic Party did not choose. I think. I'm not saying Kamala Harris.
Can you concede that point?
I am saying that the Democratic Party.
That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. She's married to a Jewish guy.
I'm talking about the party. I am talking about the entire party.
Look at the level.
So you really tell me, why do you think they didn't choose Josh Shapiro?
Anti-Semite. I don't have no clue. I wasn't in the meetings. So Elon Musk is not an anti-Semite because he's never killed a Jew, right? He's never killed a Jew, so that Elon Musk is not an anti-Semite.
That's not what I said.
Kamala Harris. That's exactly what you said.
Obviously, I said to you, he is friends with Jews. He hires Jews.
And he hasn't killed
is that you guys compare him to Nazis who slaughtered 6 million Jews. Obviously, there is no comparison, and it's insulting to a person whose grandmother ran from the Nazis that you would even make such a grotesque comparison. You are exploiting this tragedy, actually, that the Jews experienced to demonize this guy for political purposes. And there's no question. Where is your outrage about your own politicians making the exact same hand gesture? Why are you guys defending Mahmoud Khalil? Like, God forbid we consider deporting this guy who's here on a visa. And this is a guy who represents the CUAD, whose Substack has an entire article supporting October 7th. I can't with your hypocrisy. It's bullshit.
There's been no due process. If you want to talk about this nation and what we stand for, the rule of law and due process should be chief among them.
He's here on a visa.
While you defend,
I guarantee you.
if he
first of all, this has not played out. It's being looked at. Second of all, he's here on a visa. And I guarantee
the Constitution applies to him.
So tell me about your hate speech. You're so upset about hate speech. Are you upset about Substack's hate speech from CUAD? Celebrating October 7th. I'm moving the goalpost. No, I'm pointing out your grotesque hypocrisy to serve your political means to an end.
All right, Jesse, let me ask you this. Jesse, hang on. Jesse, would you condemn the attacks on Tesla? On the dealerships and so on, the firebombing of dealerships. You can condemn that. I don't understand why Van has such a problem with condemning obvious criminal behavior.
Well, you've talked to him. I'm not going to answer for Van. I don't know him. But they have broken the law. It is civil disobedience, and with civil disobedience, if you get caught, there is a consequence for that. If I'm going to sit here and talk about the rule of law, I'm certainly not going to be a hypocrite like Republicans are and act like that only applies to the other side. Yes, they are breaking the law and they should be held accountable if convicted by a jury of their peers under the system of laws we have in the United States, undergirded by the Constitution.
And how do you feel, Jesse, about Bill Maher going to see Trump at the White House for a dinner with Trump, with Dana White, with Kid Rock?
Yeah, I think... what a brain trust. Kid Rock and Donald Trump and Bill Maher all in one room to wax bigoted anti-science, and maybe Dana White. I don't know much
Bill
about
Maher's
him.
now a bigot. That's unbelievable.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's bigoted
So because
about
Bill
Bill Maher?
Maher sat with Donald Trump, he's now a bigot.
Hey.
Okay.
Hey, so look, here's the thing. I feel like sometimes you guys don't pay
Bill
attention.
Maher
First
is
of all, I'm not going to call.
pro-Israel, for God's sake.
You think that's the only form of
Jillian,
bigotry in the world?
So he's an anti-Semite and a bigot now, too.
Hang on. Don't all talk at once. Don't all talk at once. Jesse, just to be clear. Hang on. I'll come to you, Van. Jesse, why is Bill Maher a bigot? I don't understand.
Well, he's an anti-trans bigot. Trans rights are human rights. He says,
No,
I
he's
don't
not.
care where
No, he's not. No, he's not.
Sir.
No,
he
he's
said,
not.
I'm going to tell you when he said it. He said, I don't care where weirdos go to pee. That is bigoted language. Bill Maher is an anti-science, anti-vaxxer. He's terrible.
Oh my God,
conservatives love to point to
absolutely is not an anti-vaxxer. He wishes he hadn't got the COVID vaccine.
Nor is he anti-trans.
And there are good reasons
nor is
for
he
his
anti-trans
concern
because
on that
all he wants,
particular vaccine.
all he wants with trans people, he wants trans people to stay out of
I
women's
happen to be
spaces.
very close with Bill Maher. I know his positions on this subject matter.
Because you're carrying
and he's
a lot
the
of
farthest
water
thing from a
apologizing
bigot and
for Bill Maher.
anti-science.
All right, Van.
This is what I would say about Bill Maher. So the Bill Maher shift has happened long ago, right? Bill Maher got on his show. He said the N-word on his show. Black people didn't like the fact that he said the N-word on his show. Ice Cube came on his show, and then they went back and forth about the fact that Bill Maher very casually said said house nigga on his show, and black people did not appreciate that. I don't know if Bill Maher thought that he's been with so many black women that he had the right to use that word on his show, but we didn't like it. And since then, what you've seen from Bill Maher, what I've consistently seen from him, since people got up in arms, is him chastising groups of people that in the past he used to advocate for. There has been a definite rightward shift in Bill Maher's politics.
Van. You know what, Van?
And the reality
Van, let me respond to you.
Absolutely untrue.
Let me respond to you. I watch
okay.
Bill. Hang on.
That's okay for Bill Maher. He can do whatever he
I
wants,
watch
but
Bill
we can
Maher
feel
every
however
week.
we want about it.
I watch Bill Maher every week.
I'm doing
a show in 2 weeks. He hasn't got a bigoted bone in his body. This is all complete bullshit. And honestly, he's become is like
how
me.
Are you gonna tell me though?
Hang on, I haven't finished yet. All he's become is like me, utterly disillusioned.
I hadn't finished when I was talking. How are you going to tell me how I'm supposed to feel? Well, I got it. Well, then that's fine. But how are you going to tell me as a black man how I'm supposed to feel about Bill Maher?
Because I'm telling you, you're being totally disingenuous. Totally disingenuous.
How can you tell me that? How can you tell me that? You can't tell me how I'm supposed to feel about something. And I'm telling you, you're full of shit on your show.
Okay.
I
think you're full of shit. You think I'm full of shit. And on that note, we're going to leave it. But it's good to have you on Uncensored. The great thing about Uncensored, we can call each other full of shit. And you know what? We can all end on a happy note. Thank you all for being on the show. I'd like to have you all back. That was great. Thank you. Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent. The only boss around here is me. If you enjoy our show, we ask for only one simple thing. Hit subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And in return, we will continue our mission to inform, irritate and entertain. And we'll do it all for free. Independent, uncensored media has never been more critical, and we couldn't do it without you.